Joining me now is MPP David Piccini on the heels of the recent announcement of the month-long stay-at-home order and state of emergency that was just declared for the province of Ontario. It's literally 3:21 on Wednesday, and David, the announcement just came down from the Premier less than a half hour ago. How did we get to this so quickly when less than a week ago we put measures in to put the recent measures in just a week ago?
Well, Mark, I mean, the COVID-19 pandemic doesn't operate on a linear trajectory, and the variants have posed significant concern for Ontarians. We've seen it in neighboring regions of Northumberland, and specifically in hotspots. And really, when it comes to preserving the integrity, the healthcare well-being of Ontarians, that's been the priority, and keeping that integrity of our hospital and ICU capacity. And, in witnessing this, the Premier's never hesitated to act decisively when it comes to protecting that integrity of our system. And so, this very difficult decision, which I understand is a difficult one for many in Northumberland-Peterborough South, is a necessary one, and one that, when we're into the summer with more vaccines, coming into this country and this province with more Ontarians vaccinated, we'll be in a far better position. And there is hope and light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what I know many are looking forward to this summer.
David, as of 12:01 tonight, all retail will be closed except curbside pickup. All other retails, including malls as well, will be curbside as well. What other measures are we talking about that are going to affect the businesses and residents of Northumberland-Peterborough South?
Well, the state of emergency, as you mentioned, lasting for 4 weeks. Big box stores will be restricted to essential items only. Groceries, cleaning supplies, pharmacy items, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, personal care items, curbside for retail, which many have done a remarkable job pivoting to. And it's not lost on me, the very difficult reality that poses on many. But throughout this, we've supported small business with the Ontario Small Business Support Grant, which is now doubled in the budget. Supported many go online with Digital Main Street, and I think to Northumberland Goods and Services, who've really been champions in supporting local. Not a week goes by or 2 weeks where we don't order a basket to support local. So we've tried all levels of government to stand by and support our small businesses. But residential evictions, just to continue, that will be suspended for the next 4 weeks in Ontario. Special education workers and all education workers in high-risk neighborhoods in Toronto and Peel will be eligible for vaccines starting with next week's April break. And Mark, I think it's really important when I think to a number of parents that have reached out to me with special, with students with special needs. It's been critical that we maintain continuity of education. It's been critical that we keep our schools open. We know they're safe. But I know for those special education teachers who even during previous school closures have stayed in class, that we're supporting them. And new mobile vaccine clinics, as we said, the Premier's been long advocating for vaccines. I've spoken with you at length about that. We're really pleased that those delayed AstraZeneca 580,000 vaccines are now in, that the second half of the original Moderna shipment is now in. So this is good that we have more vaccines, and we've long called on the feds for greater supply, which is now putting us in this position where we can roll out the mobile clinics that the Premier announced today.
Why were these decisions not made a week ago, David?
I think that, as I said, it's very tough to strike a balance, and the Premier throughout this pandemic has made sure one thing is consistent, is protecting that, the health and well-being of Ontarians. And as I said, there's no linear trajectory to this. We know that COVID has had a far more disproportionate impact on hotspots, but now we're starting to see that, again, over Easter weekend, we know there were a lot of people got together, and we saw in our neighboring region, Mark, we rely on tourism. We have people coming out with the warmer weather. And when, MPP Smith's neighboring riding to us, the county, goes from green region by all indicators, positivity, transmission rate, goes into the gray region, that poses a significant risk. And we were seeing that throughout. And so I'm not going to wait. The Premier's not going to wait for us to be a hotspot in Northumberland. We have to act now. We have to act decisively, and it is very difficult, and we understand that. But throughout, all levels of government are really trying to strike that balance and working hard to support our small businesses and Ontarians.
Obviously, David, to curb this, not only do the people have to obey by the state of emergency or state of emergency and the stay-at-home orders, we need to get the jabs in the arm, as the saying goes now. And obviously, that is the focus of this government as well, where you're going to start implementing and going into those hot zones. And as Premier Ford said earlier today in his live news broadcast, was the fact that he's willing to go to doors and drag people out to get the jabs in the arm, literally, and and start begging people in these hot zones to get the vaccine shot. But the plan now is those hot zones, correct?
Yeah, and it's going to people, and the Premier's, from day one advocated. It's not just going to where the jabs are, but it's taking the jabs to the people. And I know he's been a very strong advocate and speaking with our local medical officers of health about that. And you think to local campaigns, we've got 34 health units, each cognizant of their own realities. We have a disproportionate seniors population here, Mark. So you saw right away Rotarians stepping up, Community Care Northumberland stepping up. Thanks to additional investments of the government to support the most vulnerable, those who have mobility, transportation issues, coming to the vaccination clinics. And so, it's been great to see local campaigns. I think to Durham, another area of the riding I represent, with the Roll Up the Sleeve campaign. So, getting the jabs, those orange T-shirts that are now synonymous with our experience with mass vaccination in the riding of Northumberland. So it's been a real team effort in working together. And, the Premier, I myself, we're always open for suggestions, for criticisms. That's our job in government. And at each step, I think the Premier has shown a willingness to act decisively on this. And we know that the vaccines are critical to our recovery. We've talked long and at length about the supply, but it's important that we all work together, all levels of government, on getting that supply. We're very pleased to see increased supply coming in. That's why we've now doubled the pharmacy locations. We're seeing pharmacy locations throughout Northumberland-Peterborough South right now, with more to come this month. We're estimated to go, Mark, to well over 1,400, 1,600 locations across our province, which dramatically improves the number of locations one can go to, with new clinics coming online. Trent Hills, Minden, Fenland Falls, all coming online. And just to give a strong plug, though, again, thanks to Coburg Rotarians, who are up in Fenland Falls right now, up in Minden, helping set up, and thanks to the can-do attitude of small businesses, Rona, Sabic, and our many amazing businesses, Stallwood Homes, that have stood together to support this.
I know you're fitting me in between your busy schedule, David, and I appreciate that. So I'll give you one final question to you. And it's not going to be about schools, because you and I discussed schools on this week's show of QPR, and really that hasn't changed since, with these announcements as to why you stay open. But what do you say to those people, those residents, those businesses that have struggled so far along, David? And here we are 1 year later, we're under a third state of emergency, another stay-at-home orders. Is there light at the end of the tunnel here? Like, do these people have something to grasp on that, if I can make it for these next 4 weeks, that there's going to be something positive at the end of this?
Yeah, Mark, and I, as I've said to you before, really draw strength and really hope in just our collective attitude, the unity of purpose of us all coming together to overcome this pandemic. It's not lost on all of us in Canada that as provinces across this country make very difficult decisions, we look globally to other jurisdictions that have had far greater supply of the vaccine, who are heading in a different trajectory. But we know that thanks to increased supply coming in, I'll note by June, we know over, an estimated 9 million plus Ontarians will be vaccinated, that this is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's incredibly difficult. It's not lost on any of us. And but throughout, all of this, we've rolled up our sleeves and said, how can we help you go online with additional supports? How can we help you defer fixed costs with, help small businesses that have been forced through very difficult shutdowns through measures like the Ontario Small Business Support Grant. But Mark, I know they just want to open their doors. You didn't get involved in small business to take to rely on government. You got involved in small business because you had an idea, you had a vision, you wanted to grow that business, you wanted to contribute and give back to your community. And I know they want that, and that light is at the end of the tunnel. With all of those mass vaccination clinics coming online, the greater supply, pharmacies coming online, this is good news, and there is that light and the hope. But then the hope every day on the efforts of so many frontline workers, healthcare heroes, and volunteers.